What's up guys, it's EcBoy from Team Calamity. This is a video looking at elemental dragons, and I'm going to be doing this for a couple of decks. The point of this is really just to discuss what I think is viable to test in both the main and the sides of these respective decks. I'll be doing separate videos for both the main and the side because of how extensive obviously both are going to be. Um, I'm starting with Elemental Dragons, firstly because in my opinion they are the most popular and arguably the best deck this format. I'm adamant that it's a two-horse race between this deck and Prophecy, but I mean it won't take much convincing for most of you to side with me on that. But what I really like about this deck in particular is just how many options it has in terms of what you can viably run in the main deck. This just has so many tech options, so much variation in terms of what you can side as well, and the ratios that you can run. It really has a lot of flexibility. So in that sense, I mean, this format wouldn't really get stale even if it was just elemental dragons, because you can keep innovating more new ideas into the mix, keep testing new things. So I think that even though, we only have a couple of months left, hopefully, of the current situation that we have, it should be interesting and things should remain fresh. So this is what I would say is basically the bare minimum of what one should be running if they're playing this deck, what is essentially the core. So I'll discuss why I think this. You have 5 of each color, basically 3 big, 2 small. So that's 20 dragons. I mean, this is pretty standard. This is what people have found to be the best ratio very early on. And from my own testing, I would definitely advocate that. I mean, there's no real reason to deviate from this. I tested with 3 burner and 3 reactin, as well as at a separate point 1 lightning and 1 stream. And I would say that the thing is, if you run 3 of any of the babies, then it just makes things a bit too cloggy, and you don't want that really. And when you run less, really, even if it's lightning and stream. And by the way, the reason why I tested more of burner and reactant is because Blaster and Redox have the better effects out of all the dragons. Tempest and Tidal have the worst effects, which is why I tested less of them. When I ran more, it was too cloggy. When I ran less, it just didn't seem like enough. You didn't have enough ways to bring out Tempest and Tidal in and of themselves. So that was why I stuck with the 20 ratio, and it has been doing really well for me. I mean, I do side out a lightning or a stream and or lightning and stream occasionally, and yeah, I still do that. It's not a bad thing to do, but for the game one, I like to just have this ratio. I think that it does the best. You can search them when you need to, but yeah, it gives a lot of options. So that's why I play 20 dragon rulers, and I think that that is the bare minimum, really. Not necessarily bare minimum. It is what you should be running. Then 3 effect Veiler is another card that I would say is something that you need to run definitely a 3. And the reason for that is because firstly, effect negation is really good at the moment. You can stop the search from Magician of Prophecy, which is great. That can potentially win you the game sometimes. And in the mirror match, you stop the Draco Sack from getting tokens, which can be pretty important. You can stop Crimson Blader getting its effect, which can quite often win you the game. And you can sometimes stop Big Eye as well. I mean, you generally don't go into Big Eye that much in the mirror, but you can, which is also really good. But what really makes Effect Veiler great is that it is also a level 1 tuner, which means that you can use it in conjunction with any of the big dragons in order to go into Crimson Blader, who is obviously amazing in the mirror match, as well as um, other synchro options like, say, Ancient Sacred Wyvern, which can randomly steal you games, Karakuri, Beret, stuff like that. So, yeah, I would definitely run 3 Attack Veiler. Now, with Maxi, I only put 2, but personally, I would main 3. But I would say that you should be running a bare minimum of 2, just because it gives you a leg up in the mirror match. And without it, you will have a disadvantage in the mirror, which obviously you don't want. So, I mean, Elemental Dragons are the most popular deck at the moment, so there's really no reason not to main Maxi. And I would personally main 3, but I would say that the bare minimum is 2. And as far as level 1 Dragon tuners go, you can main 2, which I'll discuss later, but I think that as a bare minimum, you have to run 1. And I haven't done a lot of testing with Corseska. I've been playing it briefly at the moment, but if I had to choose between Flamvolgard and Corseska at the moment, I would go with Flamvolgard just because it is a target for for Blaster, meaning that you can discard it to pop something, which can be too important in some situations. So yeah, that's why I opt to run Flamvolgard, but that is more of a personal decision. It's player preference, and it's something that I need to do more testing on. But I would definitely say run one Flamfell tuner, run one Dragon tuner at least. Yeah. So that's 26 monsters that I would say you should be running as a bare minimum. Then onto the spells, 3 Rejuvenation, that's a no-brainer. I shouldn't need to discuss why Rejuvenation is good. 2 Gold Sock. Now this is one where actually with Sword as well, but particularly with Gold Sock, I say 2. You don't have to run 2. 2 isn't really a bare minimum kind of thing, because I know some people that play 1 and some people that play 0, and they swear by that they're having success with it. But really, I would just say 2 is a good number. It is a rota for any dragon that you need, which is obviously really useful in a number of situations, but more importantly, well, sorry, not more importantly, but just as importantly, it can recruit you into any of your big power cards, so, you know, like Heavy Storm or Dark Hole, and that can just quite often win you the game. I mean, it does get to you in 2 turns, but the fact that it can recruit any card from the deck just makes it so incredibly powerful. And if you played around with Gold Sock before this deck, you know, a few formats ago, then you realize that aspect of it. You realize how powerful it can be. So I would say 2 is a good number, but it really is discussed in conjunction with Sword and the ratios that you draw up with that. Now with Sword, I would say 3 for me. I know a lot of people that say that 3 is really good. I haven't tested 3 as much, but I can imagine 3 clogging. But at the same time, it is a card that you do want in the early game because it doesn't have as much accessibility in the late game. Or play usefulness, utility in the late game. So, I mean, you run more, you see it earlier. But I don't know. I mean, I think that 2 is great. 3 might be better, but currently I don't mind forfeiting the 3rd for something else. And 1 is also good. I mean, I tested with 1. I know that Michelle Gruner played 1, and I know that a lot of people play 1. But what I like about Sword is that it lets you dig deeper into your deck. It lets you actually draw, which sounds stupid, but Sock doesn't let you draw. It just fetches things. Sword, you know, you can dig into your Rejuvenations, possibly, or Storms, Dark Holes, and even stuff like Veil or Max, whatever. You know, you can just draw into stuff. It gives you more options, which is always good. So personally, I'm liking 3-2 with 3 Sock and 2 Sword. But that's just me. I mean, I would say try 2-2 as a guideline, but you can vary it up. I mean, you can go 2-1, 1-1, 1-3, 0-3, 0-2. You can really do whatever you want, so just test it up and see what works for you. But this is what I'm advocating at this point as a bare minimum. Now, as far as the power cards go, I say that Storm you have to run, honestly. In fact, I'll talk about Storm and Dark Hole at the same time because they're both really kind of the same thing. Storm is too important, obviously. I mean, if you're playing against Prophecy, then you'll want to clear out their Fates and Star Holes and whatever other stuff they have. And Dark Hole, Dark Hole, they're more likely to have searched out Fate to back their Jowgen than they are to have searched Wisdom. So Dark Hole actually goes in a lot, and in general, I mean, just being able to play, clear the field, and then make plays for yourself in a deck that's as potentially aggro as this, it's a great option to have. So that's why I would say run both. They're both really good to have. And card destruction, I wouldn't necessarily say that card destruction is a staple. It definitely has strengths and weaknesses, but I would say that it is a really good card. It fuels rejuvenation, it digs into rejuvenation as well as all the other stuff. It lets you reset hands that are lackluster. Yeah, it does a lot. I mean, granted, it is only good in the early game, and if you're playing the mirror match, it does fuel them as well. So keep those things in mind. But it is really good. So for that reason, I am choosing to main deck it. And I would say that, you know, you probably should be main decking it, but just definitely test it out and see what works for you. So that's what I would say is the core. You have 36 cards here, so you can experiment with 4 other spaces. I mean, technically you can cut a Sark and a sword or whatever, and then you have 6, but this is what I would advocate as a decent skeleton for the rest of the deck. And now we move on to what else I would say is worth testing in the main deck. Firstly, you have the debate between Chalice and Breakthrough Skill. Obviously, objectively as an effect negator, Breakthrough Skill is better. However, I would say that Chalice is better, and that's the one that you should be running if you are going to run one of them. And the reason why is because Chalice can be used instantly during your turn. You don't have to set and wait, which may sound pedantic, but when your opponent goes first turn, like Judgment, into Jowgen on you, you will want to have that effect negation straight away. You won't want to have to set a card and then wait, because, you know, they will just expand even more on you, and at that point it might be too late. So for that reason, I would say Chalice is better. The reason why I didn't put Chalice straight in was because I would say that it isn't necessarily something that you have to run. You don't have to run Chalice or Breakthrough in the deck. But I do think that one slot to an effect negator is pretty good. I mean, it's worth running in my opinion. So for that reason, I am going to run one Chalice. Then you move on to the other tuner. I mean, you can run 2 tuners. I know a lot of people that run 2 tuners, and I would say that it depends on your environment. If you have a lot of dragon rulers in your environment, then maining 2 would get good results, because really in that environment, it's just about getting out Crimson Blader as quickly as possible, and then just killing something with the Crimson. Like, that's what it comes down to. But I mean, if you have more Prophecies or other decks, or just generally, if you have quite a mixed environment, then the one tuner does fine. And really, just test out Corseska and Guard, see what you like. The advantage of Corseska really is that it has 800 attack, so you can run over Patel or Magician or whatever it's called, along with an attack position Jowgen, which may seem fairly niche, but it actually came up for me when I was testing. The guy had an attack position Jowgen, and I ran it over with Corseska. So, these things do come up. So that is what you should be testing, but really it's up to you. Now, another thing is Monster Reborn, and some of you may swear that it is a staple. I wouldn't disagree, honestly, with Monster Reborn being a staple. However, for this particular example, I'm not going to put it in, and the reason why is because I am still testing out things. I'm testing ratios, and Reborn is one of those cards that you don't really need to test. Like, you know how good it is straight from the offset. Obviously, it's very good, but it's not something that I have to see how good it is, so I can use that space for now to test things like sock to sword ratios or chalice or whatever other things I want to main. If you're going to a tournament, then I would say, I mean like a high level tournament like a nationals or a regional, even though regionals won't be happening now, but one of those higher level tournaments, then run Reborn. But for now, just for this video, I'll be keeping it out of the main because I am testing other things over it, so for that reason it's going to stay out of the main. But obviously keep in mind everything that I have said. It is something that I would main if I was to go to a tournament. It's just for now while I'm testing out other things. Then Swift Scarecrow. This is another thing where if you have a lot of dragon rulers in your area, then I would run it, because it can save your life. In the rare match, it's really like if they get a clean shot for game, then they'll take it, and if you have this, then you can, save yourself, and then next turn you can make a comeback and end up winning the game. And that's really how it is. So Scarecrow helps a lot with that. But again, if that is assuming that you have a lot of dragon rulers in your area, if it's more prophecy or more mixed, then it might not be a good idea to run Swift Scarecrow. So test it, see how it goes. But it is something to definitely consider. Now, side blocker is something that I personally really like, just because of its flexibility. It is really good in a mixed environment because you can use it adequately against pretty much anything. So it is really good. I mean, I tried it out in the main, and it was not disappointing at all. It did pull its weight. So, I mean, try it out, see how it works. Get to grips with it, because it is one of those cards that you have to get to grips with. But definitely try it out. I'm not going to be maining it for now because I think that it's more of a card that you would side deck, but definitely give it a spin and see how it works for you, because it is really good, and I would advocate at least giving it a go. Then we get to the two books, Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse. Book of Moon is obviously really good. It's just its versatility is its greatest strength. You can go on for a while about the things that you can do with Book of Moon. And yeah, it is a -1, but it's not like -1s matter in this kind of format. So for that reason, I would definitely say run Book of Moon. You can use it to switch off Jowgen, switch off Kaiku, switch off Ophion, assuming that they don't set Pandemic or Wisdom in the previous example or whatever. You can use it for your own benefits as well. It is just a great card. So for that reason, I am going to run it in this main deck. Book of Eclipse is kind of from a similar vein. However, it is just a kind of bigger Book of Moon. Like, it sets everything. So if they have Jowgen and Kaiku on the field, say, then you can just use this and set both, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've tested it in Prophecy, and it was okay, to be honest. I haven't tested it much in this deck. I would say give it a go and just see how it is. If it works out well, then then great, you have something else to add. But I mean, I'm not going to run it just because I haven't tested it, so I don't know how it works, or how well it works, I should say. But it's definitely worth giving a go. Then, for traps you could run, firstly, return from a different dimension. This is just one of those big, like, all-in kind of traps. Uh, hold up. Okay, yeah, we'll have lost it. Oh no, we've got it, cool. So, sorry about that. So yeah, return is just one of those all-in kind of traps. Um, I mean, if you have space, then there's well, it isn't that there's no reason. I mean, it's worth testing definitely. It is just one of those kind of GG cards. You just go like all in, aggro, play it. I would argue that it's unnecessary at this point. It doesn't really do anything that you can't already do, but it is just one of those like huge power plays that reaps big rewards if you manage to pull it off. So if you have the one space left in your deck and you're thinking, you know, I don't really know what else to run, then try it, see how it works, because I mean, it is extremely broken. Like it is just a stupidly broken card. So yeah, try that out. And with Warning and Judgment, I mean, if you want to go with the two traps, I mean, they are the two best traps at the moment, so you can, you can run them quite feasibly. Personally, I'm not going to, because I don't think that you need to really run any traps. But yeah, you can if you want to. Again, there's no reason not to test it and see how it goes. Then we get on to the more niche kind of stuff. Firstly, Yamatai Dragon. I actually really like this when I played with it, because you don't always get rejuvenation, so it's really easy just to go into this, get a hit, and then replenish your hand. The reason why I'm not running it now is firstly because of space. Space is tight, and secondly, it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, it's cool when you get it off, but it's not one of those things I'll ever like win you the game or anything like that. It doesn't really push for a space in the deck. It's just one of those things that's pretty cool. So it's kind of up to you. Also, you have to waste the tokens to summon it, which is never really a good thing. You never really want to get rid of Dracosac tokens. But yeah, I would just say try it out, see how it goes. It is pretty cool. Like, I tested it and I thought it was pretty cool when I ran it. Another thing is enemy controller. Again, this is one of those things that's really cool in the mirror match. Honestly, you can steal stuff with it. In general, I like enemy controller as a card. It's just one of those cool cards that I think has a lot of decent interactions. I haven't tested it, so I'm not going to main it, but if you have a lot of dragon rulers in your area, then definitely try it out. And probably just try it out anyway. I mean, it can steal Jougans and whatnot, and then if it was summoned by judgment, you can end up killing itself or whatever. So yeah, just it's something worth noting. Other things, firstly, Light and Darkness Dragon. And honestly, like, the reason why I didn't discuss this up until now is because I completely forgot about it. I don't think the Light and Darkness Dragon is that good in this deck. For one thing, Lad and Eclipse takes up like way too much main deck space. It's like at least 4 to 6 cards, 4 to 7 if you play Red MD. So I mean, that's just too much. And also, it isn't really that good in the mirror. There are ways to get around it, and when you do, it ends up really just causing you more problems. Causing you more problems than your opponent. So for that reason, I wouldn't main deck it. However, at the moment, if Priestless Prophecy, Priestless Prophecy without Priestess, continues to gain in popularity, then Lying Darkness might actually be a good choice because, you know, there's no Priestess to destroy Lad because you can just keep revealing Priestess to drain Lad. And that deck is actually really good. I'll get onto that in a separate video, but yeah, Prophecy without Priestess is really good. So it's something to keep in mind, something to try out, but I would not advocate the Lad Eclipse Wyvern aspect of the deck. Another thing is Exploder Dragon. I main this initially for Evil Swarm, and that's all that this is really for, to be honest. It's for Evil Swarm. And honestly, it's up to you. If there's a lot of Evil Swarm in your area, then the one of this won't really hurt because you can search it off Redux, and you can side it as well. But in a mixed environment, it's not worth main decking, but it is something cool. And if there's a lot of Evil Swarm in your area, then it might be worth running. That's all that I thought was worth discussing in the main deck. Other things might include One Day of Peace. I didn't mind One Day of Peace, to be honest, when I played it. It was okay, but it's just I don't like giving Prophecy more options. I don't like giving them an extra draw. I don't see the point. Mind Control, if you have a lot of mirror matches in your area, that might be pretty good. I saw like Card Trooper and stuff being mained. I wouldn't main Card Trooper. I don't really see the point. And the Plant Engine as well, if you want to get out Crimson Blader quicker, it might be something to consider. Honestly, I would just play that for the lulz, really. I don't know how good that actually is, but I mean, go ahead, try it out. It's plants, so anything with plants is popular, and it seems pretty cool. So just give it a go. I'll quickly move on to the extra deck. So, of course, I'll start off with Dracosac, and I would say run 3, just because it is the key card in the deck. Sure, you probably won't summon 3 in a single game, but I have a fair amount of the time, and it is something. I mean, it is the deck, really. It's the key card that you go into, so yep, there's no reason not to. Then two big eye is what I personally play. I think that 3 isn't needed. I mean, I rarely go into it as it is, especially in the mirror match, but it's your Eradicator target. And speaking of Eradicator, sorry, I'll go on to something else for the actual main deck, but yeah, for Big Eye, I think that 2 is a decent number because it is an Eradicator target. And if they say like warning your first one, then you don't want your Eradicators to suddenly be dead. You want a way to get into another one. But yeah, 2 Big Eyes, cool with me. And on the topic of Prophecy, just to go back to stuff that you can main, I forgot to discuss this. Firstly, Drone Lockbird. If you have a lot of Prophecy in your area, then obviously it would seem pretty good to main Drone Lockbird. The main thing I would keep in mind is how good those Prophecy players are, because it's at the point now in America, like the better American players, definitely in the OCG for a while, people have just learned how to play around Jordan Lockbird. So if Jordan Lockbird does become mainstream, i.e. you start seeing it in main decks and stuff like that, then the Prophecy players will have to adapt. And really the way to do that is just by using all the searches before you use Judgment, and then after you use Judgment, use non-searching spells like Starhole, Power Tower, Wisdom, etc. so that they can't draw and Lockbird you, and then you get the big search at the end. That will become the standard play, which means that draw and Lockbird will become bad. So it's just whether people have gone to that stage yet. If they have, then obviously there's no point maining it, but if they haven't and you get a lot of Prophecy in your area, then obviously it's all game, because Prophecy obviously has a good matchup against Dragons. So Yeah, and another thing which is being seen in the OCG is main decking Eradicator for the Prophecy matchup. Now I personally I'm not going to do this. I side Eradicator, but I mean again, if your area is really Prophecy centric, then you can do stuff like maining, Drawn Lockbird, and Eradicator to help alleviate their matchup, and then have extra stuff thereafter in the side. I mean that would be viable, but obviously you're only going to be doing that if there is a lot of Prophecy in your area. If it's other decks or mixed, then you would want to stay clear from that and keep those things in the side, which I'll get into in another video. Then another rank 7 I would run is Abyss Gaios. I actually rarely summon it, ever, but I do sporadically, and I think it's just a cool option to have. You don't have to run it, to be perfectly honest, but I do, and I go into it every now and then, and it makes me feel good when I do, because it's pretty good. So, yep. And another thing I would run is a Gaia Dragon, and the reason why is for the mirror match, because piercing tokens can occasionally win you games. So, yep, it's another rank 7. Then I would say run Armorion. I mean, Effect Veiler with one of the Dracosac tokens makes Armorion. And Armorion has a lot of applications. Can randomly win you games and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say definitely run it. Then another thing I would say to run is Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Wherever it is. Here we go. Because it is really easy to just get this to some insane level of attack. And then when you do, it can just win you games out of nowhere. I wouldn't recommend just summoning it if you're not going to win the game that turn, because it is level 7, so it can end up like being stolen by Big Eye and then being used for Xyz material. I mean, this is obviously assuming you're playing the mirror match or something. But yeah, I mean, Veiler makes this easy to go into, and once you do go into it, it can just be an absolute monster a lot of the time. So yeah, I would say definitely run it. Then I would also say run Black Rose. I know a lot of people that aren't running Black Rose at the moment. I would say it's still worth running just because a field nuke is too important with, you know, game 2, especially with like Imperial Iron Wall, Mind Drain, Soul Drain, all that kind of nasty stuff lying around. Having the option to just clear the field in your extra deck is an amazing option. So I would say definitely take it. Then the other synchros. So firstly, I would say run Colossal as your Eradicator target. I would only say Red Dragon is worth running if a lot of people in your area summon Dracosac in defense mode. I don't know how often that happens, but it does sometimes happen, and if that is the case, wait, no, never mind, don't do that. Scratch what I said. I forgot that Dracosac wouldn't die. Yeah, no, only play Red Dragon Archfiend if a lot of people are playing Trifortress ops. But I don't see why anyone would be playing Trifortress ops outside of Monarchs if you have a lot of Monarchs in your area or something. Colossal's cool. You can do some plays with it. I mean, whether you run this or Thought Ruler is actually up to you. Thought Ruler is really good as well. But I just like the fact that Colossal can't really die by battle, so you can just sit on it. You can just tank a few hits, and then if they do try to kill it with a spell trap effect, then you can just chain that Eradicator or something. So that's why I like Colossal, but really it's up to you, and I need to do more testing on it. But something that is definitely staple is my boy Crimson Blader, who dominates the format. I would say run at least one. If you run two dragon tuners, I mean, then you might want to step that up to 2. But 1 has been enough for me. I've never really found that I wanted a second. Um, then I would also run Scrap Dragon because removal is cool. A Stardust Dragon because, you know, protecting yourself from stuff is also cool. I mean, sometimes you get those games where you just play pseudo grind games and you can just win by doing protect the Stardust and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty useful. And then I haven't really decided on what I would run in this space, but for now I am testing Karakuri Shogun model 00 Beret because you can summon it using the tokens that you make off Dracosack. And then, like with Gaia Dragon, you can turn the token into attack mode and then kill it, and that'll be 2/6. And that can sometimes win you games. So, yeah, that's why I run that. But there are a lot of other things I could run instead. Could be Red Dragon, could be an extra Crimson Blader, could be Catastor, Thought Ruler Arcfiend, countless other things that I could be running. And that goes for the main deck as well. I mean, I didn't discuss Debris, which you could run. I mean, it could go on ad infinitum, which is really what I like about this deck. So I'll wrap it up. If I was to make changes to the main deck, I would put that as my main deck. I think that you should be playing 3 Maxi. Again, having that leg up against dragons is too important. And I mean, Maxi a lot of the time, at worst, it is an even trade. So, yeah, it's a good card to run. Plus, you can ditch it for Redox and Reactin, etc. And Gold Sark, I like at 3 just because you can tutor, you know, your Heavy Storms and Dark Hole and whatnot with it, which is insane, as well as everything else. But so far, remember that I am testing it at the moment. I am testing 3 Gold Sark. If I was to go to a tournament now, I would probably drop a Gold Sark and run Reborn instead. But this is what I'm currently testing with. So yeah, long video, but I hope that you got something from it, because there are a lot of options with this deck. There are a lot of things you can do, and I hope that gave you some insight on what I think when I make this deck, and the options that are there. I mean, one more thing, sorry, that I would quickly like to discuss in the main deck is Obelisk. I'll discuss this more in the side deck video, but I mean, I would only main it if you have a lot of elemental dragons in your area. Otherwise, keep it in the side or not at all. But it is beast. Sorry, I just really wanted to mention Obelisk because I mean it's Obelisk, it's a beast. But yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed this, got something from this. There's a lot to talk about with this deck, so I got that all out of the way. The others almost definitely won't be as long as this, because this deck does have the most choices, I believe. After this one, I'll be putting up one relating to the side deck of this deck and all the options that you can use there. And then I'll probably just do, you know, like Prophecy, Evil Swarm, and maybe some other decks. I mean, comment if you want one in particular, and I'll look into it. But I'm probably just gonna be looking at the main decks, what I consider to be the main decks this format, with maybe a couple of others thrown in. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, and if you watched all of this, then thank you for, you know, being patient. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you around. Thanks a lot.